Greetings once again, Indie Warriors, and welcome back to I Dream of Indie Games. Old Gamer Joe here to discuss the 15 best-looking indie releases for the week of January 15th through the 21st of 2024. Happy New Year to all. We have a good amount of releases this week, which hopefully means the long drought is over. Before we get into these sweet releases, we do want to take a moment to thank our wonderful indie sponsor this week. We appreciate you supporting independent content and helping us to keep the lights on. This week's episode of the top 15 best-looking indie releases for this week is sponsored by Million Lords World Conquest, a fun, fresh mobile game that's available right now for you to enjoy through their website. You can use the link in our description box below to learn even more. Million Lords World Conquest challenges you to rule over 3 different lands. Select from a variety of heroes, all of which have their own skill trees for you to try and master. Dominate your enemies and make friends with fellow warriors on your quest for complete and total domination. That sounds serious, right? Well, this game is. The game even features full leaderboards, so you can brag about how much bigger and badder your kingdom is when compared to the rest of the world. Become number 1. They never stood a chance. Worried about a timer or getting overly stressed out in this game? Fear not. This title is easy for just about anyone to pick up and play, and you won't feel rushed at all. No timers here. If you aren't much for making friends, you can also go it alone. Hey, we don't all work well together, okay? That's totally fine. There are seasons for you to take part in, and depending on your performance in a season, you may even advance further and further each new season. The deep and robust talent tree allows you to take a more offensive approach, or you can also play it safe with a strong defense. So just what are you waiting for, folks? Use the link available in our description box below and download Million Lords World Conquest, a procedurally generated world with very fun RPG mechanics awaits you, brave one. Just don't get lost for too many hours now. With no level cap to deal with, time will fly by fast. Once again, a very special thank you to Million Lords World Conquest for sponsoring this video and supporting independent content. Please be sure to check out the game using our link in the description box below. Thank you again. Alright then, on to the indies. We start this week with Sovereign Syndicate, which is best described as an RPG with a unique tarot card element. Players take the role of a variety of different characters whose story arcs intersect with one another. Missions include finding parts, delivering messages, and speaking with NPCs for more and more quests. The game takes place in a weird version of England where there are centaurs and half-human machine creatures along with full robots. Definitely high on the fantasy elements, but this one has a dark side as well. Those who enjoy high fantasy and steampunk should keep an eye on this game, so long as you don't mind plenty of reading. Next up, according to the Steam description, this one is, quote, the most historically inaccurate roguelike ever made. Well, I'll be the judge of that. We're talking about Time Survivors, a game that has many historical figures in it, like Tesla, Cleopatra, and even Abe Lincoln. This is an absolutely insane-looking action title in the style of Vampire Survivors. I mean, just look at this trailer. Crazy dinosaurs, scorpions, all sorts of wild enemies coming at you in endless supply. It looks so over the top and ridiculous that I just have to try it for myself. Absolutely hilarious. Put on your fancy pants for this next one. This is a collection of Flash titles that were previously released called the Fancy Pants Adventures. This is the classic pack, so if you were a fan of the originals, well, good news, this version will have updated visuals and other fun new exclusives. While the game is in early access, you'll be able to enjoy World 1, World 1 Remaster and Remix, and World 2 Classic and Remaster. Now with full 60 FPS mode, it should run better than ever before. The stick figure drawings remind me of the extent of my art skills, so maybe there's hope for me yet in making a game. I doubt it. I'll just keep playing them and talking about them. Onward, released over a decade ago, Legend of Grimrock now makes its way to the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, 11 years later. Why now and why did it take so long? No idea, but a lot of folks are celebrating this that were fans of Legend of Grimrock. This tactical dungeon crawler was well liked when it originally came out, but can it hold up all these years later? We shall see. Avoid traps, knights, bats, and electrical charges too. The action takes place from the first-person perspective, and while yes, it does seem a bit dated, hopefully there's still some fun to be had for Switch owners. There was a sequel as well, so maybe if this one can do well enough, we might see that get ported over to the Switch as well. Now for an early access first-person shooter, our next release is Contain, launching on the 16th. I've honestly not been much of an FPS player in the last few years, especially more realistic ones, so this title doesn't really appeal to me per se, but I know a lot of you out there will be into it. The visuals look pretty nice for a smaller indie with some great effects like night vision and impressive lighting throughout. It's hard to say how good the game will play, but it does seem to take a few pages out of the Modern Warfare handbook, while maybe even delving into a bit of the supernatural. While the game is designed with co-op in mind, the developers do mention it can be played solo, and will even be adding AI teammates down the road. Time to phone a friend, as Regis used to say. This is Home Safety Hotline. You won't be calling the Ghostbusters in this one. The voice acting in the trailer sounds really well done if you ask me, and I love the retro visuals that bring back memories of the early PC days. This is a mystery thriller of sorts from the creator of Night Signal, so if you played that one, you might have an idea of what to expect. And if you're worried about something super creepy like a spider popping up, fear not. The game has accessibility options for common phobias. Not me though, I'm going all in. I think this game would make for a really fun stream over on our Twitch. Another auto battler is launching into early access. Get used to hearing that this year. This one's called The Last Flame, and honestly looks pretty fun. The fantasy setting is lovely, and it would appear that there is a card element to the game with over 50 different heroes to unlock. Gather more treasures as you play over and over, forge new equipment, and don't worry about which buttons you gotta press. There's an element of strategy as well, so if you aren't careful, you might get trounced. Magic and mysticism await on the 17th. I'm always down for another shoot 'em up, and one that I can't pronounce. Let's give it a go. Nephenthesys. Looks like it's got me covered with some great looking arcade action. Bosses are massive with intricate patterns, and you'll have lots of different ships and weapon types to choose between. I'll never complain about another game in this genre, as I love them, and this one does look pretty fun, if I could actually figure out the name. You give it a shot in the comments below. Well then, this should be interesting, a strategy RPG that takes place during World War I. That's what players can expect in All Quiet in the Trenches, entering early access. I'm not the biggest history buff, but I do like me some tactics from time to time, and the setting does at least look somewhat historically accurate. It's not just about inflicting damage on enemies though, as your choices are going to matter in this one. Keep an eye on the mental state of your companions and manage a camp as well. The game seems quite ambitious, which is probably why they've gone the early access route, relying on player feedback. So give it to them if this is your thing. Lots of strategy this week apparently, but here we have a city builder in New Cycle, also releasing into early access on the 18th. Your job is to restore society to greatness. As you guessed it, a mighty comet, or something along those lines, has wiped out most of the world. Get it now? New Cycle? Collect tons of resources, ensure your villagers are fed and taken care of, and build, build, build. I know OK Nia loves playing these games over at the Twitch, so good news, she will be streaming this one very soon, so be sure to follow twitch.tv/idreamofindiegames. It looks complex and seems to offer hours of gameplay. Should be fun to watch her go through it. I guess from one builder right to another. Yep, you can't make this up, folks. How do so many builders get made? It's seriously kind of crazy. Anyways, Fractured Veil takes place on an island during a mutant apocalypse. There are some RPG elements in this one, along with a deep crafting system, full day and night cycles, and oh yes, procedural generation, baby. While again, I must admit this is not my genre of choice, I do have to say I like the setting. Islands and mutant breakouts are always a good time, right? Arguably the biggest release this week, our adorable Turnip friend returns in Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. The sequel to Commits Tax Evasion, Turnip Boy has really gotten himself into trouble this time. It looks and sounds just as adorable as the first, and the pickle is back, yay! I'll be curious what refinements have been made. For example, is the combat tighter this go around? The weapon variety still seems really cool, and all told, I can't wait to solve more puzzles with tools and take control of Turnip Boy once again. Kinda surprised this one's coming out already. Time certainly does fly. How about a roguelike deck builder with ships next? That perk your ears up a bit? LONESTAR comes to early access on the 18th from developer Mathtide and publisher Thermite Games. If you love cards and you love ships, well, you'll probably be all about this one. Battles look pretty intricate with a shockwave system, and you'll have plenty of customizable options available for your ships. You know if you're into this kind of thing or not, so take note. Next up, from the developers of Golf Club Nostalgia, we have The Cub. The Cub somewhat calls back to 16-bit Disney platformers, specifically on the Sega Genesis. They cite The Jungle Book and Lion King, two great games, but notoriously difficult ones. Jump, crawl, swim, and ride through a unique world draped in rain, cartoony visuals, and a lovely soundtrack. If you grew up enjoying 16-bit Sega games like I did, then odds are you'll at least be a little bit interested in checking out The Cub. Those animations are looking nice. Last on our list is a game title that I can't believe wasn't taken prior to this, Hero of Fate. Talk about games you never thought you would see get ported. It looks fast, frantic, and over the top like many other Survivors games, and you can get into battle with up to 4 teammates total. Lots of skills here, plenty of bosses, and even alternate endings. If you're a Switch gamer that needs yet another one of these games, here you go. I couldn't find this listed on the US eShop yet, but it is up on the UK store. And that's gonna do it for this week, folks. We hope you enjoyed taking a look at the week ahead. Indie games are heating up for 2024. This was the 15th through the 21st. Lots of fun releases to look forward to. As always, patreon.com/idreamofindiegames if you would like to gain Discord access, early ad-free shows, shoutouts at the end of every single video we produce, and even free games depending on your tier. Also be sure to support Nia over at twitch.tv/idreamofindiegames. I will see you on the channel for more wonderful indie gaming content.